All right, Eid Mubarak once again to my fellow Muslim brothers and sisters. But right here, this is a new day. And of course, Karibu Sana, in case you're just joining in. We are live on Ibru TV, and being Lifestyle Thursdays, we need to have some good music. As you can see today, the music is a bit themed towards Eid and just appreciating the fact that it's Eid and a lot of people are celebrating across the world. For the people who are celebrating today, Eid Mubarak. For the people who will be celebrating tomorrow, Eid Mubarak in advance. So, welcome back to the show. On today's conversation, we're talking about boundaries and financial conversations in a relationship, and especially in a marriage, because we've been having a kimarriage series hivi kiasi. So we're talking about what are the types of boundaries that are there in a marriage, in a relationship, in just anything, and how do you communicate those boundaries? How important is it to let your partner know about the boundaries that you have, about the things that you're comfortable with, about the line that they should not cross for you because itakujamisha, and implications za wewe kuto-communicate hizo boundaries ni nini, and also the financial conversation, the conversation that a lot of people usually fear to talk about. Ukisikia tu finances, you're like, where? That's such a tough conversation. So how do you bring up that conversation? How do you start saving together? How do you start investing in things together? How do you manage finances in a relationship? How do you develop that understanding, that common ground when it comes to all things finances in your relationship, in your marriage? Just having that sense of communication and common playing field between you and your partner when it comes to all matters finances. Leo siku consult, nilikuwa tu kwa mood za Eid. So we're going to get right into it. I have two amazing ladies who I'm going to be chatting with for this particular conversation. But before I engage them, I value you and I want you to be a part of the conversation. So please make sure that you are interacting with me and with us in general right here on the show by sending in your WhatsApp messages. Kama kawaida, my phone is something that I'll never forget because I need to talk to you and I need to hear what you have to say. 0777-672-230 is my WhatsApp number. Niambie what you have to say. Ask those questions and they shall be answered right here on the show. Na nitazifanyia tu justice. Unaona tu hii energy vile iko tu leo, yani tu. It just has to be put to good use. 0115-885-797 is my number. Call in live. I want to hear your beautiful voices. Nataka kusikia there's someone from Eldoret. Nataka kusikia there's someone from Mombasani. Give those Eid shout-outs as well. Who are you appreciating? I've told you the number. Now, in case you've not captured it, all of that information is at the bottom part of your screen right about now. And last but not least, we appreciate this digital migration. So why don't you go to our social media platforms? Ibru TV Kenya across all social media platforms except for Facebook, which is Ibru TV KE. Official hashtag NewDayKE. But right about now, my ladies, I'm so glad to have you here. Every time I have you guys on the show, na hata wasee wananiambianga tu anawapenda sana sana sana, especially when it comes to conversations za relationship na mambo kayo. Lydia, welcome back.
Thank you.
Karibu nyumbani.
You're looking energetic.
Nakwambia tu leo.
I just love your swag.
Today?
Even after fasting for 30 days, you still have that energy.
Imagine.
Wow, I love that.
Sini najua nenda kula biriani nikifika home.
Kumbe unajua uko na mashamra huko kabisa. Tutadandia. I hope you're invited.
So I should carry you to tu pamoja show ikiisha.
Yes, please.
We obviously even had to pull out the big guns, the print for Eid.
Wow.
Mpya kabisa.
We'll be honored too. I've never attended any, so I think today will be my first time.
Oh,
yeah.
Amazing. Yani tu watu wanapenda tu kuniweka kwa kona. Oh my God, I think today I'm leaving with everyone in this office.
Wow, we'll be honored to come.
But we're glad to have you back on the show. Super excited. I love the red. I love, it just radiates some positive vibes and energy that is going to be amazing. Karibu sana. And Grace Kariuki.
Yes.
We always love to have you on this show because one of the viewers told me, you obviously say it as it is. And that is what they love about you. And what are you cooking for us this weekend? That's something I always have to ask. It's one slip to the weekend, so what should we expect from your kitchen?
Unajua tu kama mokimo, kauji, with the way the weather is.
Are you adopting people? Because vile unapika mokimo, I think I should just come.
Karibu sana.
But you're welcome.
Thank
so we
you.
have another conversation today.
Yes.
Kwa marriage series ketu hapa on the show. So we're talking about boundaries. I know when we hear boundaries, it's usually like it's usually taken as something that is quite heavy.
Yes.
Na ukisikianga tu mtu akikwambia you've crossed the line with me, you're just crossing my boundaries. So the whole conversation about boundaries, kwanza ni nini? Is it okay to have boundaries in any relationship?
Absolutely, because we have to kind of do a background here and understand that our society is very communal.
Yeah.
We are socialized and conditioned to think about me and you and you and me and us. So when we talk about boundaries, that's almost a foreign concept for our African context. And so that now we are actually talking about changing what we already know. And so when we hear boundaries, we normally hear that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be mean, I'm going to be unkind, people will experience me as not being part of the team. And so boundaries becomes a conversation that is hard to have.
Yeah.
But it is very important because the thing is that each one of us were created to be very unique in our own way.
Yeah.
Now, when we have people with mental health problems, we are looking at people who were never socialized or taught how to be an individual. And now you find that everything is so structured within the community.
Yeah.
And when you get out into the world, you no longer have that community ulikuwa umezoea. And so now you don't know, you have to find your way, and you don't know when to say no, and you don't know when you are overstepping other people's boundaries. So it's a very important conversation to have.
Yeah.
Also, because of the way our lives have changed, the community has changed a lot. So we are no longer living where you don't stay where you are used to. Now, when I go to my mother's place, where my grandparents are, I find that all my uncles, they live in the same compound. Now, their kids have grown, that is now my generation, they have grown and gone out. So I live in Nairobi. I don't even sometimes know who my neighbor is. So those structures that were very protective of the community are no longer there. And so now, when we come into the community where we don't share the same kind of structures, we've got to find out what are my boundaries, where do I start and where do I end, and where does my neighbor start and where do they end.
Yeah.
Now, other issues like now moral decay within the community. So now, even with our children, we don't just let them go to the neighbor's house. We don't know. And sadly, even when we have family come to visit us, it's still we find out that people are overstepping boundaries.
Yeah.
And we are hurting one another because we are not understanding that we need to say no. We need to be clear about where the boundary is and communicate it. And then be consistent in making sure that it's there. So, by definition, anybody who is wondering what a boundary is,
Yeah.
a boundary is really a property line. So when you think about your bedroom,
Yeah.
that's the door is a boundary. That this is my personal space. I do not allow, so everybody to come in. Some of us have bedrooms where we lock as we leave.
Yeah.
What are we saying? We are setting a boundary. Don't go. So this boundary is either because I left the door open and I lost some things, somebody disrespected me, or they went in there and they did things they are not supposed to do. So I created a boundary. When it comes to when you think about your own life, you yourself as a person, if my friend here, Lydia, comes and sits very close to me, I will feel like she's cramping my space. That's a boundary. We normally say that you want to stay arm's length, so that I feel safe and you feel safe. But when you are too close to me, even in matatus, and now when you think about it, Aziz, think about the matatus. And thankfully these days things have changed. But when I was a young girl in my 20s, you used to have those long Kenya buses. Mulikuwa munapangwa, and there was so much of crouching into your personal space, physical space. You have men behind you, they are rubbing over you. Kids are being told, kalia hapo kwa anko, all that. Poor boundaries. So you can imagine those girls, when they get to be young adults and they're getting into relationships, they don't know how to create personal boundaries. When we get married, again, we don't know. We are growing up in situations where boundaries are not very clear. and we do not think they are important.
Yeah.
But I think with that kind of an introduction, we know the reason why. Now, these days we have, even in workplaces, things like sexual harassment policies.
Yeah.
That's a boundary. You know, the company is saying, we have noticed this and this happens, discrimination, and we are creating policies to create boundaries and to respect people and to offer people dignity.
Yeah, so in life or in anything, we
Yes.
need to have boundaries.
Absolutely.
But now let's take it to the relationship and marriage setting. How is it very important for you to have those boundaries in your marriage? Now, at what cost? What is the implications gani once you don't have boundaries? Why are they even important in a marriage? We've looked at it generally and how even when you were giving us the typical setting of in a matatu, when someone is invading in my space, kuna watu mwenye mi hata sitaki mtu anigonge hivi kwa matatu because that is my boundary. But now for that marriage, for that relationship, why is it that important?
Let me start by saying, Aziza, when people get together in marriage, these are two different people. You came from a different society, I come from a different society. And so when it comes to the boundary thing we are talking about, it is very important because there's the life I know and there's the life my partner knows. I'm looking at the aspect of now we've gotten together. We are two different people. I expected that maybe with time I'll be able to learn this person and that person will be able to learn about myself. And so an issue happens. Let's maybe, for instance, now we started living together and I thought this man, the way like he used to, you know, he used to like come to my place or even call me the many times, you know, the many SMSs, Madam Grace,
Oh,
you know,
yes.
the checking out on me, how are you? Now this person all of a sudden after ni hata simu in a day hapigi, you know, simply because sasa now that amejua tumeishi pamoja, he's aware that now we are together and actually for him he thinks it's okay. I think the many marriages that are failing, like we had discussed last time, Aziza, if you can remember, there's a lot of miscommunication. And so, and then most people are getting married they are getting married just to make history, like we said last time. But when you marry a friend, you will be able to discern. You'll be able to know that even if this person does not call me, definitely it's not an issue to rise. But unfortunately, the society now, we are becoming so self-centered. I mean, it's me, myself, and I. If he doesn't call me, the woman raises an issue. If the woman does not check on the guy, it becomes an issue. It is very important to have these boundaries because, as I said earlier, these are two different people. You come from a different society. This is what I learned from my family. Let's say, for instance, when I was growing up, I did not have access to my mother's bedroom. I did not have access. As a matter of fact, we grew knowing going to my mom's bedroom was an issue. And we were not allowed at all. We grew knowing that when my mom used to lock her room, and that was it. And when you're even sent to that room, umetumwa kenye unaenda hapo straight. We assume there were CCTV cameras then because we were even afraid, Madam Grace, to just even look around. Ulikuwa unaonekana. So tuligrow tukijua you are not supposed to enter a certain place. And so kenye umetumwa kwa meza, that is what you pick and go and lock. And you are not allowed to enter. Actually hata hapo kuenda kwa hiyo corridor ilikuwa ni kama we call it a barrier because tulikuwa ni kama kitu mbaya. So unfortunately the life that you are living today, even the way we are raising our children, we are finding even we as parents being so careless that we can even sit down and watch some funny movies with our own children. So, and in those days we didn't have those things. There was only Vitimbi. You know Vitimbi, and there was the black and white TV. And then we only had one TV station called KBC. And so there was only one TV station. And if your dad came in, aki watch news, we used to walk out because he needed his time. And that was a boundary, of course. So we knew daddy hatakangi tukifikisha hapa. And so there was even this time you are supposed to go to sleep because you are going to school the following day. 7, you are supposed to all be sleeping. So supper used to be ready by 6. Unlike today, it is very different because you are finding even as a grade 2 child sleeping at 10. Mama analala mbele ya mtoto. Because now you think you want to give that child the freedom, which is wrong. I think boundaries are very important, especially when it comes even to raising children. You as a couple, how you relate. There's this thing, and there are very many types of boundaries. The things that we ignore and they are facts. Very, 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 very positive facts.
Yeah,
There
and
is
we need
this
to go to
financial-
those
yes.
types of boundaries
Yes.
very, very well. I remember how you were breaking them down. I want you to tackle that particular beat for a very good reason. What are these type of boundaries that people have in a marriage? Ni gani? Are they just, because when we think about boundaries in a marriage, I'll just think it's boundaries between me and my spouse.
Yeah.
But as you were bringing it out, there's the aspect of the boundaries you have with your children who are indeed part of that marriage. There are boundaries you have externally where now you don't let people just do anything because now I'm married. So what are some of the different types of boundaries that maybe affect the marriage internally and even externally?
Right. When you think about boundaries in marriage, you need to identify there is the physical boundary, which is now my physical space. Now that will look at that in the marriage and in the relationship, I am physically safe. So no hitting, no throwing things at me, no calling my body parts and making those snide remarks that make me feel bad. Why do we get married? We get married, like we said, for companionship. I need someone who adds value to me so that I can be a better member of the society. So if you are hitting, pushing, demanding, humiliating, shaming me, all that, you're not allowing me to grow. You are not allowing me to become the authentic me. So I need to create boundaries with you physically that you cannot do that to me. You cannot hit me and you cannot take away things that are mine and hide them or destroy them. Number two, we have emotional boundaries. What are emotional boundaries? Is how you speak to me, how you make me feel. The things that you do, how they affect me. If I tell you that, Lydia, when you say that, I feel disrespected and I feel humiliated and shamed, Lydia should be able to respect that and tell me, I am so sorry, I did not mean for it to come that way, and I will not do that again. And so that is an emotional boundary between me expressing to Lydia what she does that causes my emotional health to be affected in a negative way. Then, so that is something that I need to create within my relationship. The other thing about emotional boundaries is myself. When I am triggered emotionally, I don't go calling people names. The way that I respond or I express my emotions, they should be respectful and they should be compassionate and empathetic towards the person in relationship with me. So please, people who are listening to us, you get angered and you call your wife or your husband out of their name. You call them malaya, you call them stupid. Hiyo kichwa yako iko na nini? Don't do that, because you are crossing an emotional boundary, not only to your partner, but to yourself, because is that the kind of person you are? You are acting like an imbecile. So you want to also have self-respect by creating emotional boundaries on yourself. And then we have financial boundaries. How do they look like? Is that we are a couple and we have created a home. And when we talk about companionship, we also talk about in a marriage, you need partnership. And this partnership means that we are building our home together, financially, economically, physically, procreationally, all that. So how are we doing that? We are doing that by sharing and being open about the money I bring to the table, expectations about what you are to pay and what I am to pay, expectations about what is your personal financial goals, and what are my personal financial goals, and what are our joint financial goals. Those are boundaries as well. So that when I see you, this is the way we normally know a boundary has been crossed. So I'm looking through my husband's phone and I see an M-Pesa message to somebody I don't know for 2,000 shillings. And I'm going like, honey, huyu ni nani? Ulimtumia kwa nini? That's a boundary conversation. But usually it is not clear, because now I'm attacking him. He is feeling attacked. He says, kwani mimi, you are not the boss of me. And now it goes haywire.
And now he also thinks his boundary has been invaded.
Yes. And or even the other one that we have is personal space when it comes to gadgets. These days, social media boundaries are so important. So when you are mad at me and I am your wife or I am your spouse, do you go on your WhatsApp updates and you start talking to me through the updates. That's a boundary issue. So that is me. I need to create a boundary over myself to tell myself that is childish, it's passive aggressive, and it doesn't help anybody. The people who go on Facebook and they attack their intimate partner through Facebook, that is childish. And that is why we said before, if you are not an adult, you can't deal with life in an adult way. You have no business getting married. So my personal boundary over myself is, how do I deal with conflict? How do I express myself when I'm not okay? And then we have sexual boundaries. Very important in an intimate relationship. We need to be able to understand one another. When my husband demands for sex, and I got a baby 2 weeks ago, and he is like demanding. He is not being respectful, kind, and compassionate towards me. If it is painful, I need to be able to set that boundary. If he gets mad, I don't need to be pacifying him by saying yes. There is a beautiful book that everybody should purchase and buy. It's called Boundaries, When to Say Yes and When to Say No, by Dr. Henry Cloud.
But for now, the people who are not able to, this is the kind of information we need to give them.
So the thing is that, we can't exhaust everything. It's good to give people resources, because then you will learn how to do this. So there is a time to say no and to stand by it, be persistent, and also understand when you set a boundary, people will push it. It's up to you to keep it where you set it. Because if you do not set it and keep it, people will think it wasn't important anyway. And I will say this: fear is an enemy of maendeleo. So make sure that if you are afraid of saying what you need and why you need it within your intimate relationship, deal with whatever the fear is. A lot of us are afraid of rejection and abandonment. But how will you get your spouse to know the authentic you if you constantly are unable to say, this is my boundary? And then the other thing that we normally want to also talk about, intellectual boundaries as well. So that is when we are talking about BBI. Don't be telling me that sifikiri vizuri or I'm stupid or whatever. No. If I don't know, I don't know. Just be respectful. That is attacking my intellect. Sometimes we ask people, who thinks like that? You see, we don't want to do that. Or people who are more learned than their spouses, and they tell them, me, I did not go to some shaggy college like you. Me, I went to University of Nairobi. Your degree is not as good as mine. We don't want to do that, because now we are attacking somebody else's intellect, and it's important to respect that. And for you, the one who is being pushed, to be able to stand up and say, no, I will not allow you to do that to me. And I want you to know it's wrong and it is demeaning. And I would wish that my husband or my wife, who is my partner in life, actually looks at me and honors me. They don't cut me down. If you are listening to us, and that is your go-to when you get mad with your spouse, please get some anger management classes, get some trauma healed, get to know why you do that. Because would you like for someone else to do
that to you?
Yesterday, I had a conversation with my boys. Oh, mommy, so-and-so has called me sijui what. And the other kid goes like, but you also call me that sometimes. And so I had to call them to a meeting. And I said, what is the golden rule? Do unto others
what you want done
as you would have others do unto you. Very applicable in marriage. And so it's important. And so we had a conversation about what is that. And so it is very, sasa ningechapa, again, I will be crossing their boundaries, because what does that have to do with creating a physical, beating for the kids? I will just inflict pain, but I didn't teach. You see. So again, when we are talking about boundaries, we are also teaching people how they are going to treat us,
Yeah.
as we ourselves are also hearing from them on how they
To
need
treat
to
them.
be treated.
Yeah, which is a very, very important issue and
Yeah.
raises the whole conversation of understanding how to deal with
Yeah.
people, especially in any kind of a relationship. But now the aspect of you've raised very important aspects. And for me, I've learned today that there's actually intellectual boundary. Didn't know that existed ever. And now looking at it, it's quite practical because these are things that we do on a daily basis. But now I want to look at the external environment when it comes to boundaries because we can talk about the impact that the internal boundaries we set on our partners or in our marriages have, but pia kuna ile impacting the external environment and how we set the boundaries around our external environment has on our marriage. What are they?
These are the boundaries whereby maybe they are friends.
Yeah.
Maybe I used to hang around with when I was a girl. You know, there's that company, tulikuwa tunaenda happy, you know. And now here, you are under law and key.
Yes.
And so this guy wants you to have you as a wife,
Yeah.
as a mother, and as a friend. And now we are having these girlfriends calling me, you know, every time, you know, please meet us. It is vice versa,
Yes,
even to the
yes.
guy. And so there's these boundaries that we as a couple, we will keep. Because now there's this friendship that I should not actually bring into my family.
Yeah.
Because one, we used to hang out even at odd hours. And so me nilikuwa nimezoea, juu nilikuwa single then. I'll come home at 12, you know.
Yeah,
An
it's
Uber
okay.
drops me at 3 a.m. It's okay with me. But here you are married. And now you can imagine coming home at 3 a.m., not even at 3 a.m., at 10. And you find this man seated on the sofa. The look itself will tell you, sio kuzuri. And so this is one of the boundaries, friendship, you know. Friendship and companies, you know, the companies, now the external people outside you, even family.
Yeah.
I had a case where a man gets married and every other issues anapelekea mama yake.
Yeah.
And so what will happen? The mother to this son will of course think that it is that the wife is becoming unfair to my son. And so the marriage ended up ending. Madam. Yeah, because now the guy thought, mama after all. And maybe the guy was on the wrong. And so these boundaries, these parents, even the in-laws, both sides, Madam Grace, with all due respect, because I know you are almost or you are already there. My son is still young. And so I'm looking forward to actually bringing him to a responsible man, because when your son brings issues to you, you as a mother, I'm telling you, Aziza, utafeel tu we ni mzazi na wewe ni mtu. In as much as maybe he will be on the wrong, it is good like the way Madam Grace has brought it to light, because if you will have taken action to the son, beat him up, and maybe you did not follow the reason why the other boy called him that name. So it is the same. Even with parenting. Parenting does not end, Aziza. Even when my mother, and she's almost at her 70s, she's still my mom. She still has a right to tell me this is wrong. Me as a woman, I should not bring my issues, the external issues now. Because now, if there's an argument between you and between me and my husband, honestly, we should end it there. Because it is wrong, like Madam Grace has said. People are... Actually, we know your story even before you tell me. Because once you go to visit my status, you will know what is Lydia. Lydia, hata mimi venye personally, utajua tu. Utajua Lydia is going through an issue. Maybe nimetuma ka status, nimeandika sitaki wazimu, utajua tu nimekasirishwa na mtu. So that is how we are sending even our emotional, our own private life to the social media, to the society. And that is how I'm coming to know, Aziza, na venye unapenda vipodozi, kumu unakuanga tu issues twako tu na huko hivyo. So it is good sometimes even to keep that self boundaries. Now the external boundaries with this friendship. Now that friendship, what mabeste ulikuwa nao hiyo time. You know, when you enter into marriage, just stop it. And we find a way. It is good to be also wise. Don't just shut them off, but kindly let them know that you are under the law. Even the guy, kuna wale maboys alikwenda kwa club now, you know, wanajitanga my boys. So they go out, they hang out, you'll find anaenda anakuja home the following day. And yet hapa alipata, na tuliambia na Edu, for better or for worse. It is good to set those boundaries aside, and actually you sit down and now start realizing that this is your lifetime partner. At the end of the day, I want to be very honest with people. Sometimes wanakupendanga saa zile you are in the highest. When you become to the lowest, unapata hata saa hiyo una mabeshte, una hata friends, there are no people even looking after you. But when you are hanging out together, you know, they are looking for, they even come to pick you up. So if you are watching us and you are listening to us, it is good to know that when that time comes, just keep it to yourselves so that even like marriage becomes sweet, like Madam Grace. It is the best. I always tell people, it works. It works. As long as now there are these things that we are calling, important to you people, because nobody can live your life. I cannot come to convince you that this worked for me. What works for you does not work for me. And so what does not work for this guy, it cannot work for the wife. But it is good even if it is bitter, you swallow it for the sake of your children, for the sake of, actually, because I've realized that most of the issues that are happening, it is because we are not in agreement. And there is a saying that is two cannot together unless they agree. If we don't agree, Madam Grace, if we did not agree with Aziza here to come and have this conversation, I will have been somewhere else. But because we agreed, I'm here. And so that is why we are working together. And so even in the aspects of marriage, because I don't like the way people say that, it doesn't work. Me, I say it works. Marriage works. So if you're watching us, you're listening to us, it works because you will make it happen. And so this boundary, even work, you know, I'm not supposed to go to my husband's workplace. Why? That is his boundary. It is an external. I am not supposed to. He is not supposed to come to Ebru ati follow ati ananizindikisha akidu mimi aachane na mimi tumeacha kwa nyumba tumeagree mimi naenda show naenda new day, so wewe watch me online, acha na maisha yangu. Whoever will pick me at the gate, that's my life. Mimi kwa kampani yake I'm not supposed to be following ati sasa akikosa kunipata he calls a colleague. Really?
And we want to stick right there because the importance of respecting the boundary, because you've stated for marriage to work, there needs to be that understanding of the boundaries. But you find where certain boundaries maybe clash with what you stand for. How do I establish that understanding? Because there can be boundaries zenye kuna hata hizi simple boundaries zenye you're told mi sipendangi mtu akieka hivi and you don't see it as such a big deal. You're like but for them it affects them because you're just crossing the line with them. So how do I ensure that I am respecting or understanding your boundary without necessarily... Oh, we have a caller on the line. What's the name of the caller? Okay, we have Ibrahim. Assalamu alaikum.
Wow, this is Ibrahim from Mukoro Kwaruban. I just want to tell my fellow Kenyans, everyone, you want to love as if love history.
Yes.
So you have to study it if you can manage or not before entering the love.
Pardon?
Everyone you want to love has his own love history. So study it before you enter it if you can manage. The question I wanted to put on is that these bond relationships and certain habits affects the business of the family concerned. Right? Have you gotten me, please? Okay, then if you have gotten me, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Ibrahim Balambala from Mukoro Kwaruban.
Okay. Thank you, Ibrahim. I hope we've gotten his input on the conversation. You were able to get it?
No, I didn't read
Not quite clearly, but could you kindly send it to us via text so that your audio wasn't quite clear? 0777-672-230 is our WhatsApp number. We'd love to hear you quite well. And again, Eid Mubarak to you as well. So send in that particular thing that you wanted to communicate, and we'd be more than willing to engage with it right here on the show. But thank you so much for your call. But back to the conversation that we were having with regard to respecting and maintaining that boundary. There's one side that wants that boundary to be respected and wants to maintain and keep it at that because it affects them. Alafu, there's the other side who can't necessarily understand why you have this boundary, but I want to understand it. How do we reach that common playing ground?
Right, absolutely. Now, very simple. I want everybody who is watching us, and you are in a relationship, to understand one thing. you are in a relationship with a fellow adult. So the way you feel and the way that you want things done, your way, and how it makes you feel when it's not done the way that it makes sense to you, is the same way your fellow partner feels. So we do need to offer value to each other first and foremost. Stop talking to your partner as if they are not intelligent. Okay? So don't keep hammering a point to them. I've had this being said that a lot of times our spouses will experience that you keep repeating yourself, and I feel like you are treating me like a child, like I don't get it, you see. So it is important to offer each other that respect, that you are grown, you have a mind, and you are able to make choices. So when a long time ago, I had a friend who really helped me with this. She said, by the time somebody comes to tell you about what they are thinking, they have thought it through, and it makes sense to them, and it is important to them. That's the way we want to go into relationships. Now, there is also a question we had about negotiating. Collaboration, negotiating cannot happen unless I am willing to see you that we are at par. So that now, do not, please, if you want a good relationship, you've got to see your mate as an equal. Because then you are in the same team, and they bring value to the table just like you do bring value to the table. So if you are asking me about, you are sharing with me about something, instead of me saying, na wewe sasa hiyo umetoa wapi hiyo, instead of doing that and trashing and dismissing your thought process, I need to learn more. Curiosity, remember when we were here last week, we talked about having a curiosity to know your partner, you know. So let me ask you and say, hey, I heard you say 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you tell me more about that? Where is that coming from? The toothpaste that we fight about because haukufinya sijui what not. The socks that you don't throw where they are supposed to be thrown. Because those are boundaries, like you said. Things, I like the cup here. After you eat, I need you to take
and maybe as you tell us that, because we finally gotten what Ibrahim was asking. And he was asking if relationship boundaries can affect business. For example, ile yenye unakujanga kila siku, maybe you have a hotel business or something of the sort. Alafu unakujanga nyumbani every time, okay, umeshiba, then unaulizwa, mbono umeshiba, mbono nini, mambo kayo. So how can he go about that?
That is, again, that's a boundary. That means that his spouse desires for him to eat food at home. There is a value that his wife experiences when he comes home and eats. And I used to have a situation like that in my own marriage. And one of the things that I loved about my partner is that if he goes to his mother's house and he is offered food, he would ask his mother to pack it because he's coming home. And then when he comes home, he will bring it. Mom packed this food for me, and I will ask, do you want to eat this or do you want to eat what we are cooked? Because I didn't, either way, it was okay for me. But you see, the boundary there was, I'm a family man, and our value at home is that we eat food at home. And if I am going to be offered food, I don't want to offend my mother because it's very important to him, to her. And so I will take, Mom, pack it up because I'm leaving and I need to go home. And then when he comes home, we decide how that is. Very simple things, but because, and you know why that was important, is because he understood how important it is for me as his wife to be able to care for my husband. And I understood how important it is for him to honor his mother. So there's no point of conflict. It's just a simple thing of understanding one another. So that is why I'm saying, understand where your spouse is coming from. Stop being this lone ranger in your own relationship. You want a relationship, but you want to be independent mind-wise. How that is not going to happen.
Okay.
So allow yourself, the question that you asked, how do we do this? Allow yourself, first of all, to know your boundaries and to understand why they are valuable to you and where you are coming from. And then, on the other hand, increase the understanding of your partner may also have boundaries that clash with yours, so that now you respect theirs as well and get to know where they are coming from. If we do that, that is communication. That is what we call intimacy. And once we get intimate with each other, our friendship grows stronger, our value is stronger, we have interest, we have fondness, we will be able to have a good relationship.
Okay, and I think that is where we cut it for the boundaries conversation. And I hope to Ibrahim back at home, you have been able to establish that understanding. It's a matter of you knowing how to communicate what value it has to you, to your wife, and yeye pia akuelewe, and you'll be okay. And I hope that helps you. I hope it makes an impact in how you'll approach that particular situation. We need to go for a short break, but when we come back, we're going to be tackling the entire conversation when it comes to finances and how you develop that money conversation in your relationship, in your marriage. So sit right and sit tight for that. But for now, we will be right back after the break. All right, we're back, and thank you very much for embracing us into your homes or from wherever it is you are watching us from. This is New Day. It is Lifestyle Thursdays. Again, my name is Aziza Hashim, and in case you're just joining in, we were talking about boundaries in a relationship and how important is it to have it not only in a relationship, but also in a marriage. And what impact does it have when you don't communicate your boundaries to your partner, to your spouse? And right about now, I've seen the feedback is coming through. You're asking the questions, and I'm super grateful and appreciative of how you keep it interactive. In case you haven't sent in yours, all of that information as to how and where you're sending in that feedback is at the bottom part of your screen. But quick recap, 0777-672-230 is my WhatsApp number. Call in live via 0115-885797. Please usinipigeri Vasco, thank you. And you can also tag me across all social media platforms except for Facebook, which is Ibru TVKE. But right now, let's see what you have to say. I can see there's a lot. Kuna mtu alikuwa anataka kuchezewa nyimbo. I believe that will be sent in to my director. Nasikiliza pale nyuma. Sijui kama tuna hii nyimbo. Jina langu Ramadhan. Every student has a dream and a goal to pass. Tushaipata, so that will be played for you. Every student has a dream and a goal to pass and make through in life. Okay. Sawa sawa. Hi, I'm Mercy from Vihiga and I'm enjoying the show. Mwah, you get a kiss back at home. I'm just spreading love today. I'm just in that mood. So thank you very much, Mercy. Hi, would you please address the youths who are dating? How should their boundaries be like, and how do they know that whoever they are dating is serious with them, since many youths don't know how to tell if someone is serious with them? So we'll start with you. Any young people, they're not necessarily in a marriage, they're just in a relationship. So for those relationships, how should they communicate their boundaries, and how do they tell that someone who they're dating is serious with them?
First and foremost, they should know the person, the person in person. I know it's hard, but I'll explain it. The person in person, let's say for instance, I am the youth here and I'm dating a fellow youth. And I don't know, wamesema ni miaka ngapi, but they know better. But I'm sure you are mature enough, they are mature enough to know. Because now we cannot advocate, there is that 18 and below.
So let's assume they're above 18.
Let's assume they're 23, 22 hapo. It is very important because one thing I always advise even the young people, this person, the moment you now start courting, you start now dating. There's dating and courting. And these two are very different. Dating ni venye sasa when you go to a place now, you want to know this person better, where you come from, what career, I mean, what are your needs, what you need to do, what you need to take over even after you get married or when you take your relationship further. It is good to know this person, how deep this person can go with you. And as we always say, it is good to take time, let's say date for 3 or so years, so that you know what kind of a person you are going to get into a relationship with. Because most of us, we are getting married, we are courting for less than a year. And then here we've already announced a marriage. a wedding. After the wedding, most of them, they argue in the honeymoon. They come back with different buses. But for the ones that is asking that question, you will tell. You will tell a person who is serious with you. The person, if that person is taking you seriously, and I'm talking to the boy and the girl child, because most of these cases, I'm sure, who is asking, is it a male or female?
Okay, it's a lady.
It's a lady. Good. The lady. Let me address the lady now. You will tell. Maybe like when that person is making time for you, that person is not playing you, because as we talk about boundaries, it is not good like to invade the person's boundary. It is good to know huyu mtu ako serious na mimi kivipi. Maybe you've called the person and you know, there are these busy times. You call the person, he returns your calls, and maybe the SMS and whatever. Let us not engage so much in malavidavi thing and grace, because there is the real life out there. Ziza, there is the real life. Malavidavi ziko, even at the age of 80. We've seen even overgrown people, grandfathers and grandmothers falling in love at 80. So tusiegemee sana saidi ya kupendana. You know, when I see you, my heart paragasha. You will tell how serious this person is by the way he's treating you, or she's treating. It is vice versa. You will tell. You will discern.
Okay, so by the way, how someone treats you is how you'll be able to tell whether this person is actually serious with you. That is according to Lydia. So let's get on with Nani. I can see we have another question, and this is in regard to something that you actually quite said, which is why I want you to be the one to handle this particular question. So, hi, I really love the topic being discussed right now. Thank you so much, and we're glad that it's actually impactful to you. I also have a problem with my partner. He's 16 years older than me. Sometimes he abuses me and humiliates me. He would even say to me that my English is poor. I need an English school. English school. Oh my God. I don't even know how to handle this. So speak to this lady.
Right. Now, there is no way to handle and manage another person. So one of the things that we need to keep letting people know, that all you have control over is yourself. How that message, you internalize it, that's where the difference is. Because the thing is that he has thrown something in the air. Do you catch it, or do you catch it and throw it? Do you catch it and keep it? Do you also agree with him that your English is bad? So you need to go, you need to actually take some time and do your self-evaluation and ask yourself whether you are believing what they have been telling you. So if you are married to somebody who is 16 years your senior, that means that they have some sort of power over you because of their age, because of their experience and all that. And it depends also whether you married him when he was in his 40s and you were in your 20s, because then it was almost like a father-daughter relationship. So getting to be at par with this person takes a lot of effort. So he has to be willing to see you as a grown woman and who has a mind of her own and all that, and you have to be able to see him as an equal partner, not necessarily the person who offers you direction. You see, so that relationship, it probably lacks the equity when it comes to power sharing. You know, for her to feel that she is enough, and for him to also feel that she is enough. So what I would encourage her to do is to focus more on growing herself and actually negating the narrative in her mind that what he says about her is true, because it probably is not. And so what I would encourage her to do is to grow herself and to actually look at herself and say, let me take this feedback and find out what it is. The other thing that
I'm sorry to cut you short. Sure. We have another caller. What's the name of the caller? Okay, Esther, how are you doing? Hello? Okay, unfortunately, I feel we've lost Esther, but you can call us back again. We'd love to hear what you have to say. But in the meantime, let's get back to the conversations as we wait for Esther to call us back. So please do. Okay.
Right. So it's important to really use this feedback as a way to grow. This is an opportunity for you to look at yourself and do not look down on yourself because somebody else looks down on you.
Yeah.
Look at yourself in the mirror, take the feedback positively and ask yourself, could he be true? The other thing, make sure that you don't trigger. Know what triggers him to say those things to yourself. Now, a lot of times I do know when you set boundaries, people usually will not respect them because of who they are. So that does not mean that you can't share. You keep setting the boundary. You keep saying it. The message from you must be consistent because that is the way people are able to know what you're saying is serious.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you also need to create a consequence when people keep
Crossing your boundaries.
Yeah. For instance, the next time you call me that, I'll walk away. And you actually walk away. He asks you, why are you walking away from me? Because I told you that whenever you say this to me, this is how it makes me feel. And I'm not going to stand here and allow you to continue to do that. So I'm creating a boundary, I'm walking away. And keep it consistent. Akikuslap sawa, you still tell him, even if you slap me, the message is still the same. You're disrespectful to me and I'm your wife and I'm walking away. You see?
Okay.
And if he goes physical, find
Okay, we
help.
have another caller. Evelyn, how are you?
I'm good. And you?
I'm good. Karibu sana to the show. It's good to hear your voice. Talk to us.
I'm just saying that I have been in a relationship and that relationship wasn't well because that guy wanted me to give him my body so that he can.
Okay, Evelyn, can you mute your TV a bit because we're hearing a bit of a feedback. Unaweza mute tu TV kiasi tukusikie vizuri.
I'm saying
Yes.
nilikuwa kwa relationship and that guy alikuwa like, yes, alikuwa ananipenda but I turned him down because he wanted my body but I didn't want it.
Pardon? Umesema
He
alikuwa
turned me
anakupenda
down.
kisha?
Nasema alini break up na mimi kwa sababu ati sikumpatia sex. So I want to ask, in a relationship, is it a must to give a boy your body so that you can retain him? Is it a must? Yeah, because it pains me a lot.
Okay.
Yeah,
And is it okay if I may ask how old you are?
I'm 23.
You're?
23.
23.
Yes.
Oh, okay, sawa sawa. Thank you very much, Evelyn. So let's get right into your question first. Evelyn is calling us from Mombasa. So thank you so much to all our fans in Mombasa. And thank you in particular for Evelyn for that particular question. So would you like to address it? Because I've seen you were startled a bit by it.
Yeah. From number one, from what the conversation we are having, she set a boundary.
Yes.
And she said, according to my values and according to how I want my life to go, having sex with you is not going to enhance where I am going. We are not married. We, because we are not in a marriage, then I don't have to feel obligated to do that. This is the thing, Aziza, that we need to understand what are the goals and the parameters of dating and courtship as versus marriage. Because now when you are dating and you give yourself to a person sexually, you had not planned for the pregnancy, you had not planned for the emotional connection yet. So there is no commitment per se, you see. So the commitment versus what you are giving up, they need to align. If they are not aligning, all you are doing is that.
Okay, and I want you to hold on to that because Esther is back, so we can listen to her and also address both issues at the same time. Esther, how are you? Hello?
Hello?
Mambo, Esther.
Poa.
Ebu ongea na sisi, tuambie, what's your question?
Nataka kuuliza. I'm married for 4 years. I have 2 kids. Alafu wanangu wamekuwa na tabia weird. Pendanga ni out dunda na kuja kisa.
Sikusikii poa, Esther. Could you kindly repeat?
Hello?
Yes, rudia tena kidogo.
Zinasema
Mhm.
bwanangu anaendanga Dunga hivi mkaa,
Mhm.
alafu anakuja saa 6. Then looking for like something like phone.
Mhm.
Saa tu nije liniambia tu nilikijana ndio kama niko na mwanamke huyo, kinafanya nisije au mtu wako kama nitafanya aje kujua usiwa vibaya.
Okay.
Na hivi ya support.
Okay.
Sasa kiangalia na stress na kama nimemwambia the whole night akipita kuongea. Sana kanga.
Okay, sawa Esther. Tumepata swali yako and we'll be answering it. I'm so sorry for what you're going through. Sawa. Okay, so let's go back to Evelyn's question first and then we get to what Esther was asking.
Yeah, so what we are saying is that, like we said before, you train people how to treat you in the dating phase. So if you're going to give up, to give in to somebody demanding sex and you don't want to do it, then that means everything else they demand, you lose what we call it, you lose the power to continue to demand anything because you are permissive and you are a pushover. Yeah. So it's important. If the guy leaves you because you won't have sex with him, then you need to kind of see that as an opportunity for you to find someone who is better suited with your kind of value system. Otherwise, if you do that, one of the things that is such a challenge in marriage, even as we are listening to Esther, is about what we call values. When values clash, we are not going to be able to really have a meaningful relationship because my needs and my way of living is not being supported by your behavior. And so it is very important during your dating period, and again we repeat, if you are below 25, focus more on growing yourself, invest in knowing who you are, because again setting boundaries means that you also know who you are, so that you know what boundaries to set. When you do not know yourself, you go with hit and miss, you know, so you never really learn. And this is an opportunity for the lady who called earlier to actually say, okay, now I know one of my values. I don't want to be with a person who wants sex before we are committed, before we are married. And that is a value. There is nothing wrong with that. Go with it. And then that is why we say usually men, when guys are in between those ages before 25, they are sowing their oats. You know, so if you are available, of course they will be glad to have sex with you. Okay. And so if you're not in that space, that's not what you want. Create the boundaries.
And she stated a very important question with so much passion. Is it a must?
No, it's not. And we need to understand that. But now what we are having, our young people are the ones who are training each other. Do you think I should have sex with him? And then the girl say, yeah, that's what you do if you want to keep him. Tafadhali. If a girl is looking for a relationship and a guy is really looking for fun. And so when the girl is going to give sex because he wants to keep the guy, and then eventually, if the guy doesn't stick around, she's left heartbroken because her goal was to keep the guy, while the guy's goal was to enjoy himself, and then he will be moving on to someone else. So when you have that, again, you remember when we talked about relationship goals, you guys need to talk about these things in the beginning. The things which are important to you versus the things which are important to them.
And as we talk, as we still dwell there, and my director, kindly, can we have Esther's question reiterated as we take a look at what Amos from Rwaka had to say, and you'll be taking that question. Rwaka is Amos is in that particular situation where he has a wife, and that wife is now making demands now sexually, because we've had from the girl's perspective, the wife is now demanding sexually. Now, sometimes it's coming from work and you're tired, so he wants to learn how to set that particular boundary with the wife without necessarily hurting her. As we answer that question, kindly, can we have Esther's question reiterated?
Wow, hey, most of the cases we hear, they come from the men, not the ladies. But now, since we have this one, we'll tackle it as it comes. I'm thinking it is just an agreement thing. It is good maybe to let your wife know when you're tired. But in some cases, most of them think that now that the man is not having sex with me, maybe he's getting satisfaction out there. But it happens. I know it happens. Maybe, especially, I've done some researches on a man is not maybe sexually active at that point. Maybe kuna kitu inamsumbua. And with men is a bit sensitive because we believe that men are sexually aroused like all the times. And it is becoming funny because now these days it's vice versa. Ladies are just running out for men. Actually, when there's a age I hear when women hit 40, they are all over running after men, and I think it's not a good thing. But as for this case, let me say maybe the guy, maybe kuna kitu inamsumbua, maybe ni job, maybe ako na pressure. As we all know, COVID has really affected people. And maybe this guy is thinking, how do I put a meal on the table? How do I educate my children? How do I run the errands of my family? You know, he's the man, he's still the head. And so it is good maybe for the lady to just sit down and discuss the issue. Maybe the man will be able to pour it out. Because maybe ilifika mahali, maybe the lady touched him. When they are sleeping, and somehow, some way he pushed her away. And for a lady, when you do that, it's a bit, it actually, it degrades her. It degrades her inner being. And so she feels rejected. She feels like she's not worth to be with this man. And so maybe it's good when you talk it out. Let the man bring it out. Let the man just speak it out. Just discuss the issue. And maybe if you're not able, see a counselor, because it may be a serious issue. See a counselor or a marriage therapist.
And because time is not on our side, literally, we need to go back to Esther's question where she has been married for 4 years to this particular guy. And now the guy goes maybe shere at night and everything past midnight, or I don't know, past midnight and a curfew, but let's say very late. The guy goes partying very late, or apparently wherever he is. And when Esther tries to call this particular man, anamuuliza kwani unanipigia tu kuconfirm kani kuna mwanamke mwingine, and that really hurts her, and she just doesn't know what to do, because you're married to a person, you have kids with him, and how exactly do they establish that? How do they go about that?
Right. Now, when it comes to that, that is something that is happening so much. There is a, normally I say that the individuals, there is a lack of, again, clear communication of expectations. And accountability is not there, transparency is not there. So what I would tell Esther to do is to kind of figure out when he doesn't come home, when he is away for that much, what does it create within her? She can't manage him. She can manage herself. Now, so that now when she is at home and it's 10 o'clock and he hasn't come home, what happens? She needs to be able to allow herself to see, I feel anxious. Why? I feel anxious because I'm thinking he's with another woman. Why? I'm feeling anxious because I'm worried that he will be driving drunk. Why? So that she understands what is the real issue. Because what happens when we complain about an issue, we are actually complaining about the surface issue. We are not telling what it means to us. So the guys who tend to go out and they are having fun until wee hours of the morning, they are more sanguines. You know, and the sanguine personality, that's the way they regain their strength. They are working during the day. In the evening, they want to go and relax. They regain their strength. The melancholic, the more quieter, introverted personalities, after work, I just want to go home and be in my safe space. So if you are married, if the two of you are married to each other, which we know opposites attract, then you need to do extra work to understand the other person, and her husband needs to be able to listen to her. And be able to say, hey, I need to listen to my wife, rather than seeing her as trying to control what I do with my friends.
And as we wind up, because we're literally being kicked out of the studio.
Right. So I'm done.
Okay, thank you very much. Unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to give you time to wrap up, but I hope you're okay. And I'm really grateful for the wisdom you've shared today. Any time has literally, it may fly. I don't understand where all this time went to. But thank you so much. That shows that whatever you had to say was very, very impactful and had a purpose. Mpaka hatukuweza kuenda into the money conversation, but I believe they'll be back. I hope you'll be back, and we'll have that conversation with you. Sawa sawa. Thank you very much, and thank you to all the people who have been interacting with us. All your comments, all your questions, all your calls have been deeply appreciated on today's show. Na pia watu wote wenye wamekuwa kikaa hapo chini, wewe mwenye umekuwa kikaa from the beginning to the very end. Sasa tulianza show for 2 hours straight, tumekaa tu hapo hivyo. Tunakushukuru mpaka tunakushukuru sana. For all those people who sent requests za manyimbo and everything, we're going to play them for you because we are very, very, very much grateful. But for now, again, in case you're just joining in and maybe you're wondering who's this person who's yapping all over the place, my name is Aziza Hashim. I'll be back tomorrow for Feel Good Friday. So make sure you are joining me again, kesho, and Eid Mubarak once again to my fellow brothers and sisters who are of the Muslim faith. For wale wana celebrate kesho, Eid Mubarak in advance, but I hope you're enjoying your fast. As for me, I'm still drinking water right here and feeling as though I'm doing something wrong. But anyways, do have yourselves a lovely day ahead.